What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Amateur Hour TV for another video on the second channel for Amateur Hour. On this channel, I like to go through additional NBA-related topics, especially concerning the Toronto Raptors, that I just do not have enough time to go through on my main channel, Amateur Hour Sports. So instead, we do so on this channel where the vibes are a little bit different, a little bit more informal, a little bit more of a personal touch from me, but the same Raptors content that you want to hopefully see, which is why you clicked on the video. Bit of a new setup for this one. I was actually playing around with a stream setup for the main channel, which we're bringing back to YouTube. Amateur Sports watch parties for Raptors games are back on YouTube after a year and a half off. First one we're going to be doing is Sunday for Raptors, their first preseason game. Hope to see you there. Decided to build a little bit of a different screen for Amateur TV as well, and I think it looks great. I don't know what you guys think, but make sure you're checking out Amateur Sports on Sunday, this channel right here. You can look it up, or the link is in the description. But let's get into our topic for today on Amateur TV. This video is about OG Anunoby because we just had Media Day. I don't know when this video is going to come out. Might be Wednesday, might be Friday, but I want to talk about Media Day on Monday. Now, usually for Media Day, I mean, it's fun. You get to see Raptors players again. They're wearing the jersey. You get a few quotables from Masai or Nick Nurse, but ultimately, it's a lot of fluff sort of answers, like, oh, I was in the gym working on my game. Yep, just working hard to get better. Yeah, all that stuff. But sometimes there's some little snippets of information that I like, and I certainly got one of those snippets that I liked from OG Anunoby. Now, the snippet I liked, it is not the answer to the question where he was asked what his favorite thing he did in the summer was other than play basketball. That was not something that piqued my interest. But what did pique my interest was, credit to the reporter who asked us, I forget who it was. He was asked about the reports that came out that he was unhappy with his role in Toronto. Now, this is something that kind of plagued the offseason, especially leading into the draft, as Jake Fischer of Bleacher reported that OG Anunoby was unhappy with the role in Toronto and that his team, OG Anunoby's camp, was looking for trade partners. Now, initially to me, it seemed like this was a report that didn't really have a lot of substance to it. And if you know Amateur, you know I don't like Jake Fischer because I just don't think he's a reliable source of information regarding the NBA. I think he's a terrible source of information as it comes to the NBA. I've been extremely vocal about this for years now, and this is no different to that situation. It just seemed like there wasn't really a lot of grounds to this, and ultimately, like, credit to the reporter for also saying this to OG in the question, like, you want a player to be happy in the role. Like, that's a good sign. You want a player that is hungry to do more for their team. If the player feels like that, oh, you know what? This is enough for me. I think I'm good with that. They're not looking to get better. OG wants to get better, and he thinks he deserves more of a role as a result. That's completely healthy. That's what you'd expect every player to want, and to that feeling that you want every player to have. So making a full-blown story about it, Jake Fischer of Bleacher Report, seems a little bit useless to me. But they did ask OG about the question, and really liked that they did that. Some people are scared to ask the tough questions, but glad this one got out there. And OG's response essentially was, I mean, he's not going to say he's unhappy in Toronto. I mean, I don't think he'd say that, but his response was essentially, he talked about how he was fine in Toronto, he's comfortable with his role in Toronto, and reports were suggesting that he had conversations with Nick Nurse about his role and being unhappy with his role, and apparently, according to OG himself, there were no conversations that were had. Now, I don't really buy that. I feel like OG is just kind of wanted to put the speculation to bed. I feel like PR kind of got in his ear, just like, put that to bed right away, boss. But, you know, I'm sure there were some conversations that were had with Nick Nurse about this situation. And again, I want every player to be upset with their role. I don't want any player to be satisfied. I want them to want to do more for this team. That is what's healthy within a team, the healthy competition of getting playtime. That's what makes players better, because you know that if you're struggling in the starting lineup, well, there's another guy who's going to come in and take that starting spot. Or if you're struggling in the rotation, there's another guy who's going to come in and take your spot in the rotation. You're going to lose your minutes. That's what happened to Svi Mykhailiuk last season. And, you know, we're not really looking back from that. Ultimately, if Svi Mykhailiuk can make a three, he'd still be here playing with the Raptors. He couldn't. We took him out of the rotation, and we ended up waiving him from his contract. That's the way it is in the NBA. But for OG, kind of lost my train of thought here, but for OG, he wants more. That is a good thing that he wants more. The reality is there are a lot of good players in this team. We had 5 guys this season average above 15 points per game. We're the only team in the NBA who can say that about their team. 5 guys, all 5 starters. So that's impressive. And with that impressiveness comes players who want touches. There are 5 guys who need enough touches to average 15 points per game. And for this season, Pascal Siakam, another snippet I liked from Media Day was Siakam wants to take another step this season. He's put in the work to get there. He's spoken to Nick Nurse about it. We'll wait and see what that looks like. Maybe he gets even more touches. Scottie Barnes, Rookie of the Year. Obviously, that guy's going to want to get more touches than he got. Like, this guy feels like he can be an all-star this season, and I don't blame him. I think he could get there. Gary Trent, getting older, contract year. He's going to want more. Achua, he's going to want more off the bench. I'm sure like all these guys are going to want more touches, as does OG Anunoby. It's going to be difficult to find the touches here. And, there's conversations about Fred VanVleet maybe getting less touches, less play time. That makes sense because he led the league in minutes per game last season, ultimately caused a lot of injury trouble at the end of the season. But that's not really enough to get OG all of these extra touches. Now, I made a video about OG earlier in the week, and I spoke about, what is it going to be that makes a difference for OG Anunoby. And I focused on the specifics that OG can do to get better. I don't really want OG to develop like a mid-range game. That's difficult to do, and it's an inefficient shot. But what he can do is further perfect that getting to the rim and the three-point shooting. If he can do those things at an A+ level rather than a bunch of different things at a B+ level, that's more beneficial to the Raptors, and I think that's more beneficial to OG Anunoby's career. As far as the playtime goes, I thought that he got a good amount of touches last season. I think maybe where a little bit of it went wrong for the player was, again, those mid-range shots. And I think a lot of times just wasn't really aggressive enough. But that aggression could certainly return this season. There's no doubt about that. I really liked it in the Tampa season when, there were guys resting. There were guys that were injured, guys out for health and safety protocols where maybe he blossomed a little bit more. But I really thought last season he was getting enough touches to actually get himself involved in the offense a little bit more. So I think a little bit more has to go on him. A little bit more as well can go on the team to get him those touches. But ultimately, the biggest thing I took away from this was that it just really seemed like it never was a problem. I don't think a player in the press can really confirm that because they would keep that private, of course. But ultimately, what I really liked was that he kind of put it to bed. We ended the speculation right there. OG Anunoby is a Toronto Raptors player. The coaches, the front office, they recognize how important of a player he is to this team, and they're going to take the steps necessary to get the most out of his development. And they understand that he's going to be an essential piece of this core going forward. We're a young team. We're a developing team. There's a reason why so many other teams in the NBA are linked with trades to OG, are showing interest in OG Anunoby because he's the perfect complementary piece. The way he plays defense, one of the best on-ball defenders in the NBA, great off-ball defender as well. Like borderline elite three-point shooter, gets to the rim, super strong when he does that. Yeah, a lot of teams would want a player like that who can play off-ball and still average 17 points per game like he did last season. And the Raptors, they are not stupid. They recognize why all these teams want him. They recognize all of these things, and they want to keep him a part of this team, and for very good reason. But OG says there's no problem. I believe him. Raptors front office says there's no problem. I believe them. Nick Nurse said there's no problem. I believe them as well. I think that we are going to be fine this season. OG, I don't think anybody was really worried, but love that he kind of stuck it to Jake Fischer there. Scottie Barnes was really a big advocate when it came out. He said, he was on his Twitch stream. He's like, Jake Fischer followed me. I can't believe that. He thinks we can have any sort of interaction after he put out that fake stuff about OG Anunoby. I don't think he put it as politely as I just put it there. That was great to see. And Scottie Barnes, what a great teammate as well. On his Twitch streams, he was talking about how if he could play with any NBA player all time, have them as his teammate, any player all time, any team, he said he'd pick OG Anunoby. So love that from Scottie, sticking up for his teammates. And OG even addressed that on Media Day, saying that it means everything to have the backing of your teammates like that. It seems like there's some great chemistry within this unit. They can do some big things this season, 100%. And I believe OG Anunoby can be a big part of that. So thank you so much for watching this one on Amateur TV. I'm going to be lighter for content on Amateur TV. I'm being really, really busy this week. I'm going to be traveling to Cincinnati from Wednesday to Friday, so I've recorded this well in advance, so I don't know when it's going to go up. But thank you so much for watching this. If you enjoyed, be sure to drop a like on this video. I mean, help support the channel and make sure you're subscribed. A lot of new people could come if you like the video. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. If you're new and you want to subscribe, you get usually 3 or 4 Raptor videos a week just like this. As we get into the NBA season, you get even more stuff, even more talking points. So the only way is up here. Let's get to 2,000 subs. You can help us do it. And make sure you're tuning in live 30 minutes before tip-off as the Raptors take on, I believe, the Chicago Bulls on Sunday. Game's at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Amateur Sports, my main channel right here. Link is in the description as well. Follow me on Twitter. Follow Amateur Hour on TikTok as well for some bite-sized Raptors content. And yeah, I'll see you again next time for another video on Amateur Hour TV. Take care now.